Hello students. So we have almost reached at the end of this particular course. This is the 11th week and we are discussing the last lecture today of this 11th week. So today's topic we have chosen is the best management practice on eco-engineering solutions for water. But at the same time, I thought like bringing back what we have learned in different weeks. So each module summary I will be now adding in each lectures. Maybe sometimes we'll go for 2 lecture modules, 2 weeks summary or sometimes one. So let us start with the module 1 summary, which was our very starting point of this urban ecosystem course, that is the ecosystem basics. And introduction to urban ecosystem was our first lecture. The key concept which we discussed here is the urban ecosystems are complex, adaptive systems where natural environments are transformed by human decision making. These urban ecosystems integrate biophysical, socio-economic and built components functioning as novel ecosystems with modified materials flow. Metabolism, if you remember, studying them helps anticipate ecological transitions and manage risks like heat islands while maximizing the co-benefits. The particular field fosters ecological citizenship and supports global goals like SDG 11, that's the sustainable cities. Keywords of this lecture was urban ecosystem, complex adaptive systems, novel ecosystem, coupled human natural system. The next lecture was on ecosystem basics, including ecology. The key concept was an ecosystem, which is a functional unit where biotic, the living one, and the abiotic, the non-living. Those components, they interact. Ecological organization scales up from the individual organism to population, community, ecosystem, and biosphere. Structural units include producers, autotrophs, consumers, heterotrophs, and decomposers, saprotrophs, alongside the physical factors which we discussed as abiotic. Functional units enable system operation through energy flow, which is unidirectional. At each and every level, only 10% is going forward, and the nutrient cycle, which is circular in case of natural one. Keywords we discussed biotic, abiotic, trophic levels, food chain, ecological hierarchy, and biosphere. Lecture 3 talked about ecosystem functions, where the concept was ecosystem functions are the beneficial roles or services resulting from underlying ecosystem processes. Core functions include primary production, nutrient recycling, water purification, and climate regulation. System states describe dynamic changes through concepts like resilience, disturbances, and ecological succession. Tipping points are the critical thresholds where small changes can cause irreversible regime shifts, like a lake becoming eutrophic. Keywords for this lecture was primary production, nutrient recycling, ecological succession, tipping points, and regime shifts. Lecture 4 was on ecosystem process. The key concepts were the processes which are the physical, chemical, and biological mechanisms like photosynthesis driving the system. Hierarchy of processes, we discussed ranges from primary photosynthesis to secondary like decomposition and tertiary, which is resilience levels. Energy flow is unidirectional and inefficient, 10% transfer. While biogeochemical cycles, nitrogen, phosphorus, and carbon recycle matter continuously. Decomposition is a critical multi-step process, fragmentation, leaching, catabolism that restores soil fertility. You can go back and you can really go through those diagrams as well. Keywords photosynthesis, decomposition, energy flow, biogeochemical cycles, and hierarchy of processes. The fifth lecture was on examples of ecosystem process and function, and by now I hope you have started enjoying and appreciating the methods we have followed in this particular course, that is always with examples. So the key concept was case studies illustrating how human and natural disturbances reshape ecosystem dynamics and states. Desert greening represents a human engineered novel ecosystem which is dependent on energy subsidies to maintain functions. We discussed Chernobyl disaster, which is demonstrating secondary succession and resilience, where wildlife rebounded in the absence of humans despite radiation. Interdependency disrupting a process directly compromises the function. Disturbance response ecosystems may follow delayed recovery trajectories or shift regimes entirely under stress. Keywords were desert greening, Chernobyl, secondary succession, anthropogenic disturbances, and novel ecosystem. And today, in this 55th lecture, we will be discussing best management practice on eco engineering solutions for water. So, we'll be discussing the eco engineering. We will bring back the context and we will discuss framework, design principles, technical aspects, case examples, operations and governance, and future trends. So, let's see context and framework. Urban water challenge, which is escalating the flood risk as well as the drought risk. Uncontrolled development and climate change intensify urban flooding. Traditional drainage systems often fail under extreme rainfall. Water quality issues, pollutant loads from impervious surfaces degrade receiving waters unless treated on site. Resource scarcity, water reuse and aquifer recharge become critical as cities grow. Best management practices or nature based solutions aim to close the urban water loop by capturing and treating runoff. So, the focus of eco engineering for water is going to be the discussion. The narrative will be from experimental pilots to scalable design intelligence. And the questions we are going to ask: what practices become standard in climate stress cities? How to avoid repeating failed green solutions? Civil engineering versus eco engineering. Civil engineering is the traditional way of looking at the things, eco engineering is the futuristic one. In the first one, the goal is conveyance, move water as fast as possible, and the metric is velocity, meter per second. Generally, the material used is concrete steel for grey engineering. Failure mode is catastrophic. Suddenly, it will fail, rupturing, and flooding will happen. Whereas eco engineering, the goal is retention and treatment, keep water local, don't allow it to flow off. Metrics are residence time and quality, BOD, total solid suspended, these are the metrics. Materials are plants, microbes, soil, blue and green. And the failure mode is gradual, clogging, die off, and you get enough time and enough indication. Key insight is the future requires a hybrid approach that integrates both so that the uncertainty also can be limited. Defining the toolkit, terminology often overlaps but distinct functions exist. BMPs, the best management practices, techniques or methods to manage water quantity and quality. The other terms used often are the BGI, Blue Green Infrastructure, Network of Natural Areas providing ecosystem services. Sustainable urban drainage system, SURTS, the UK term for managing surface water runoff. WSUD, we discussed it at length. Water sensitive urban design, holistic term integrating the urban water cycle, supply, storm, sewage into the urban design. Low impact design is a North American term focusing on mimicking pre-development hydrology. So you can see the terminology may overlap, but also each one is having their distinct area to cater to. Why BMPs matter for resilience? Resilient stormwater management, green infrastructure and BMPs mimic natural hydrology, capturing, storing and slowly releasing water to restore ecological balance. And you can also use, instead of green infrastructure, the term blue-green infrastructure. That is more holistic. Co-benefits, these solutions not only reduce peak flows but also improve water quality, provide green space and support biodiversity. The source control, BMPs treat runoff at its origin via soil filtration, plants, and media before it overwhelms the drains. So, the key principle for the BMPs are that these combine natural processes with engineering to manage the runoff. They treat stormwater on site using vegetation, soil, wetlands, etc. These are the strategies instead of relying solely on pipes and tanks. Let us now go for the design principles for BMPs. First one is the context sensitivity. If you try to design something in India, you cannot follow the North American detailing. So, why copy paste from the West? Because it fails in India. Climate, temperate or Mediterranean, the climate steady drizzling is happening in North America, whereas in Indian monsoon, it's an intense burst and long drought. So, the climate itself is different. So, Western biosoils will overflow instantly in Mumbai. Plants will die in Delhi summers. So you have to think about this climate context. Similarly, for the pollutant context, the pollutant profile is different. Heavy metals versus the sewage and sediment. Indian runoff often has high organic load BOD and massive sediments dust requiring different filtration logic. Soil, in case of India, it is a native clay black cotton soil, whereas we are actually competing for the engineered mix. Infiltration fails without soil amendment. Second design principle is multiple co-benefits. That has to be one of our very strong target. BMPs must do more than just drain the water. Hydrologic, flood reduction, groundwater recharge, ecological, habitat for pollinators, birds, their habitats, and wetlands. Social, aesthetic values, recreational space, parks as floodplains, thermal, microclimate cooling, and mitigating the UHI. Planning BGI offers habitat to flora fauna, improves public health, and satisfies recreational needs. The sediment challenge, the Indian reality, can be discussed in details because the problem is high ambient dust, unpaved shoulders, and construction debris. The impact is rapid clogging of permeable surfaces and infiltration beds. And we should also add here our behavior, social behavior in urban areas, how we manage our solid waste. We throw waste anywhere and everywhere. So the design response pre-treatment is mandatory. Sediment forebays or silt traps at every inlet. Sacrificial layers, top 50 mm of sand or gravel designed for easy removal or replacement. Clogging study, clay laden runoff causes clogging 10 times faster than the sand laden runoff. So it has to be understood properly and accordingly need to be addressed. Now we will come for the technology side. Type of BMPs, we have actually discussed many such waste management practices when we discuss the nature-based solutions. So for rain garden and bioswale details, we can go back and look at the lecture 41 in module 9. Permeable pavement, the same module. Constructed wetlands, we have discussed separately in the module 9 only, lecture 43. Green roofs in the same lecture, and ponds, detention and retention basins, we have discussed in the same module, lecture 42 and 43. So, I think module 9 can really help us a lot to go back and understand again the type of waste management practices. Performance and benchmarks, we can go for many different type of metrics. The first one can be hydrologic, as we are discussing water. So, volume of runoff retained, peak flow reduction, infiltration rate. Like we can have an aim to detain the 1 in 10-year storm on site. That can be a very good target. Water quality metrics, pollutant load reductions for nutrients, heavy metals, total suspended solids, etc. Green roofs and bioretention often remove 50 to 70% of captured pollutants. It has been found that reviews are confirming bioretention or rain gardens permeable pavements, or green roofs, they effectively control runoff and improve water quality. So, also they control the sediments. Standardization need, there is a need for standardization. Current data is varied. Standardized performance benchmarks are recommended so designers know how well best management practices must perform in different contexts. So, again, I would like to remind you, which we have discussed the week before, that we don't try to say what exactly shall be the design standard. We are saying performance shall be standardized. Smart management and monitoring, instrumentation, sensor networks like soil moisture, flow meters, these can enable real-time monitoring of base management practice performance, like when a rain garden is saturated, etc. IoT and smart valves can adapt operations, release water when capacity allows. Data driven adaptation. Continuous data lets engineers detect logging or failures early. Models like SWIM, SWOT, 3DI integrate sensor data for predictive maintenance. Scalability. Case reviews note that IoT integration considerably increased the scalability and efficiency of sustainable urban drainage system. Recommending tech enabled GI adoption. Life cycle and sustainability. Cradle to grave thinking, go beyond just pollutant removal. Consider embodied materials, construction impacts, energy consumption, and waste disposal. For example, manufacturing concrete for a detention basin has climate impacts that should be weighed against the benefits. Life cycle assessment. Life cycle assessment accounts for all of the materials and energy consumed and substances emitted from the initial extraction of raw materials through the disposal of the system. Such studies may reveal that some of the BMPs offer less net benefit than expected. Net benefits, what it is? A true measure of a BMP's sustainability, and this includes construction cost, operational and maintenance needs, replacement frequency, and treatment efficacy. Planners should use life cycle assessment as a tool for truer quantification of the net or total environmental benefit. Maintenance, the fault tree of failure. Analyzing why green infrastructure fails. Sediment clogging, inlets blocked by trash or mud, vegetation death, wrong species selection, maybe not drought tolerant, compaction, foot traffic or vehicles crushing the soil pores. In the parking areas, we have to consider that. Structural damage, curb cuts are broken and overflow pipes are blocked. These can really bring damage to the entire system. BMPs require proactive maintenance planning and monitoring. Designing easy access like pre-treatment filters, cleanouts, and community upkeep programs can greatly extend functional life. Case examples, European wetland retrofit example, Thames estuary floodplain restoration in UK. Former floodplains have been reconnected to the rivers, creating large wetland areas that attenuate flood peaks and improve water quality before the water enters the Thames. And these projects integrate habitat creation with flood control. Similarly, Rotterdam's blue green roof network can be discussed here. The city encourages green roofs and street rain gardens to manage intense storms. Over 25 rain gardens have been installed in one flood prone district, collectively detaining 2000 cubic meter of stormwater. These are designed for infiltration and planted with native vegetation. Asian urban BMP, Mumbai and Chennai rain tanks. Some Indian housing complexes now use communal rainwater tanks and recharge wells per building, reducing runoff and supplementing groundwater. These city led pilot projects demonstrate how BMPs can be effectively integrated even in densely populated Asian cities. And I would like to remind you that what we do in not only in Chennai, the temple tanks and the traditional tanks, we discussed also the Warangal city if you remember, cascading tanks. Singapore water management, though not purely green, Singapore's strategy actively puts flood water to better use. Their large underground reservoirs and urban wetlands like Bishan Angmo Kyo Park serve as scenic flood control basin. The Marsiling Park wetland, for example, cleans water via plants before getting released. In US, we can see the GI network examples from several cities like Portland, famous for its Green Streets program, curbside planters and pervious sidewalks that capture roof or street runoff. Over 100 Green Street facilities drain thousands of square meters of pavement, reducing reliance on pipes. New York's Green Infrastructure Plan, New York City aims to manage the 1-inch storm on 10% of impervious area through extensive green infrastructure. This includes rain gardens, green roofs, and permeable lots, a city-wide scaling of BMPs with clear volume reduction targets. So that is very important to have a clear target. Operations and governance. So, first thing we'll be discussing the economic and social considerations, the cost versus benefit. Green BMPs often have higher initial costs, land design planting, than grey infrastructure, but can be cost effective long term by reducing flood damage, energy costs via cooling, and water treatment expenses. Some analyses find operational and maintenance costs lower for GI than for comparable grey systems. Job creation, designing, planting, and maintaining BMPs creates green jobs, landscaping, engineering, etc. Community maintenance programs like Rain Garden Volunteer Days build social capital. Equity. Public green infrastructure like parks, street plantings, they ensure all communities benefit from the flood reduction and amenities, not just wealthier areas. Inclusive planning is essential for equity. Environmental co-benefits, habitat and biodiversity. BMPs create urban green corridors, green roofs as pollinator patches, wetlands as bird habitat. This boosts urban ecological networks. Climate resilience, vegetation provides shade and evapotranspiration, mitigating UHI and sequestering the carbon. Storing stormwater for non-potable reuse eases pressure on freshwater supply. Public health, cleaner runoff means safer urban waterways for recreation, swimming, fishing. Green spaces improve air quality and provide recreational areas, thereby enhancing overall well being. Plant selection palette for the Indian context, the grasses, many a times it has been seen that we are selecting the wrong species. So the grasses, the workhorses, continuously they are working. Deep roots, metal uptake will be good. Vetiver is a good selection. Indian reed, sewage tolerance. We have discussed the vortex and those DWAT system. These Indian reeds are being used. Cattail, high biomass. Flowering or aesthetics, then you can go for the Canna indica, nutrient uptake. Hibiscus helps in waterlogged tolerances, but always advised to avoid the top grass. Roots are too shallow and invasive, and also they go for lots of water. And the invasive species like water hyacinths, unless strictly controlled, are advised to be avoided. Future trends, we will be discussing the Internet of Things and the data driven design, digital twins first, modeling entire watersheds with real time data can optimize BMP placement. Cities like Copenhagen utilize rain sensor networks to predict flooding and activate storage facilities. So they are connected. The additional water will go to the storage. Machine learning, AI can predict which BMP designs perform best in each context based on past data, speeding up design iteration. Citizen science, smartphone apps that allows residents to report blockages and flooding in GI. The Crowdsourced monitoring can improve maintenance scheduling as well. Benchmarks and standardizations, performance standardization, developing clear targets like percentage runoff reduction, pollutant removal benchmarks for each BMP types will guide designers and regulators. Certification like LEED or GRIHA for buildings, a rating system for green infrastructure performance would ensure quality. Incentive alignment, financial incentives like grants, stormwater fee discounts tied to demonstrated performance like measured outcomes will drive high quality BMP implementation. Standardized performance metrics and policy incentives are recommended to speed BGI adoption. Overcoming the challenges for BMP, the maintenance funding, secure long term budgets for BMP operation and maintenance through stormwater fees or endowments to prevent the neglect is important, surely very important. Interagency coordination, combine water, parks, and public works planning, jointly manage projects like street trees as part of sewer rehab that will avoid the siloed governance efforts. Public engagement, education campaigns, and demonstration projects like school rain garden, community wetland tours. These can build support and ensure proper use of BMPs. Adaptability, design BMPs to be modular and upgradable. For example, spaces that can be expanded or depend if future storms exceed historical norms. So these are the few important things can help us in overcoming the challenges which BMPs are facing, especially in case of India. Key takeaways: BMPs are essential. Nature based stormwater controls are crucial for urban resilience. They address floods and pollution while providing ecosystem services. This is especially true for Indian cities where almost every season we are finding this trouble. Integrate ecology and engineering. Successful designs thoughtfully merge green plants and soil with grey pipes and pumps and guided by context and performance goals. Plan for the long haul, include maintenance and life cycle in the initial design. Learn from failures, clogging, overgrowth, etc. to make BMPs durable. Data and standards, ongoing monitoring, and clear benchmarks will turn BMPs from art to science. Evidence based standards and smart technologies are the path to scale. So, today we have discussed the first module recap, and then we have discussed the eco engineering and the best management practice in details. These are the reference lists. Thank you.